Mom, run away now. I was on my way home from a part-time job when my 10-year-old son called me out of the blue. I was terrified by the unusual atmosphere. I tried to run away, but the evil hand was relentless and suddenly hit me from behind. When I turned around, I saw a man holding an iron pipe in his hand. But it turns out to be someone I never expected to see. No way. I can't believe it. How in the world did you? In my fading consciousness, I kept repeating the unanswerable question. My name is Natalie. I am a 38-year-old housewife living with my husband and my 10-year-old son and mother-in-law. My husband Tom is 10 years younger than me, and it is his first marriage, but I am a divorced woman who married again. My son Harry is my stepson. I met my husband 3 years ago. We became close through work and started dating, and got married 1 year ago when he was transferred to another company. I quit my job and moved to my husband's hometown with his son, and started living with his mother-in-law, Linda, at her house. Before we got married, I was worried about living in a strange place, but it turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Thanks to my husband and my brother-in-law and his wife who lived nearby, I was able to fit in quickly. Harry seemed to have made many friends at his new school, which was a relief. I also started working part-time at a local supermarket and was spending busy but fulfilling days. One evening, just as I was leaving the store after finishing my part-time job, I received a call from Harry on my cell phone. Mom, run away right now. I was at a loss to understand these words out of the blue. What's going on all of a sudden? I was about to ask back, when I heard a different voice from the other end saying, "Who are you talking to? Is Harry in some kind of danger?" I called my son's cell phone back, but it was turned off, and although I was lost when he told me to run, I decided to head home anyway. However, this decision was wrong. As I approached a neighborhood park, I noticed footsteps approaching from behind me, but before I could turn around, I heard a dull thump and a violent shock to my head. I stifled the pain and turned around to see a dark-skinned man with sunglasses and a mask covering his face standing there, holding an iron pipe in his hand. I struggled with the man, who was raising his weapon, and we fought with each other. I took advantage of the opportunity to snatch away his sunglasses, and was astonished to see his true face. What? How could it be you? The next moment, however, I was hit by a second bullet and fell to the ground. Then I heard a passerby yelling nearby, and the attacker ran away, leaving me unconscious. The next time I woke up, I was tucked into bed and Harry was peering anxiously into my face. Mom, did you notice? Is this a hospital? Yes, it is. Dad is away on a business trip, but he said he would rush here as soon as he finished his work. The police officer came to my room and asked me about the case, and I was in a state of confusion. To my surprise, I could not remember the face of the murderer, whom I was sure I had seen. The doctor told me that I had temporarily lost my memory due to the shock of the blow to my head, and that I would have to wait until I remembered it naturally. The attacker was my grandmother. When the police left, Harry told me about the inexplicable phone call in the evening. Harry happened to overhear my mother-in-law on the phone with someone ordering her to attack me, and he was in a great hurry to let me know. When Harry's mother-in-law caught him and asked who he was calling, he quickly turned off the phone and told her it was a friend. Later, He found out about the accident from the call from the hospital to my mother-in-law, and he came to me by bicycle. Oh, I knew it. I had an idea that my mother-in-law was trying to kill me, and when I heard Harry's story, I understood. My mother-in-law had easily allowed me to marry a year ago, even though I was older than her husband, divorced, and with a child. This was partly because she herself had been divorced, but also because she had never been attached to anyone and had little interest in her husband. Even after we started living together, my mother-in-law was busy with friends, shopping, and gourmet food every day. She seemed to think of me only as a housekeeper, and her attitude toward her own grandchildren was not very friendly. In a sense, however, she was easy to get along with and a very pleasant person to be around. My relationship with my mother-in-law deteriorated 3 months ago. My father passed away and I received a large sum of money from his inheritance and insurance money. My mother-in-law found out and started begging me for money. My mother-in-law was living a good life, playing around every day, but her only source of income was an allowance from her husband and brother-in-law, which was not enough for her strong materialistic desires. When I told her that I had put the money in a time deposit for my son's future college education, she insisted on canceling the deposit, which I repeatedly refused to do. I welcomed you and your family, whom I don't even know where you come from. My mother-in-law finally came to say such a thing. Well, I had to go into the hospital for tests, so I decided to send Harry home. I'll talk to your dad about this when he comes to visit. But I was worried about leaving him alone with my mother-in-law, so I contacted my brother-in-law, Cloris, and asked her to take care of Harry. When I called her and explained to her that I had lost my memory of the time of the examination, she seemed very surprised and worried. At that time, I did not say that it was something my mother-in-law had planned, because I still had no proof. However, she was aware of the disagreement between me and my mother-in-law, and she gladly came to pick up Harry. I'll call your mother, so you get some rest. Let's go, Harry. I sent them off and waited for my husband to arrive, but he did not arrive at the hospital until the next day. The head wound was unexpectedly shallow, and a brain scan revealed no abnormalities other than a lack of memory, so I decided to go home with my husband and ask my mother-in-law about the situation with our son. What? I would never do that. My mother-in-law immediately denied our questioning, and vehemently accused her son of lying. I can't imagine what the future holds for you, telling such terrible lies. This is all because of your mother's bad discipline. With all due respect, Harry is not the kind of boy who would tell a lie. I don't know. It's all because of his mother's bad manners. With all due respect, Harry is not the type of boy who would lie. I don't know. I spent all of yesterday evening in the yard with the neighbor, so I have an alibi. If you want, you can check my cell phone records to see if I was calling anyone. My mother-in-law showed us the screen of her cell phone and even politely called the neighbor to claim her alibi. If you delete your phone history, we won't be able to find it. And you don't even know exactly when you were talking to your neighbor. If so, do you have any evidence to prove it? If you have, then produce it. In response to my rebuttal, my mother-in-law said to me as if she were proud of her victory. That's terrible. You're the one who's lying, aren't you, Grandma? You talked to our neighbor in the yard after we hung up the phone, right? But then my husband, who had been silent all that time, snapped, that's enough." "You're right, Mom. Without proof, there's nothing we can do." Harry seemed shocked that my husband did not believe him, and his eyes were filled with tears. I felt sorry for my son and was dissatisfied with my husband's attitude. My husband is younger than me, but he is a dependable person and should have been very understanding of Harry. But to deny my son at such an important moment was unacceptable. "Hey, what you did earlier was not cool. I feel sorry for Harry." After that, my husband and I went back to the couple's room together, and I immediately voiced my dissatisfaction. My husband started to say something, but quickly looked away and said, "I'm going to talk to Harry," and quickly left the room. Something is wrong. Tom and I have always talked about everything. At that time, I suddenly had a certain suspicion. I shook my back and tried to remember the face of the culprit, but the more I thought about it, the further away the memory fled. The next day, I took a leave of absence from my part-time job to recuperate at home and wondered who my mother-in-law's accomplice might have been. However, although my mother-in-law lives with us, her personal life is a mystery. She is in her mid-50s, but she is young and beautiful, probably has a boyfriend, but has many male friends, and the man who sometimes sends my mother-in-law home drunk is a different man each time. I don't think they would be willing to commit a crime if they were asked to do so. If I go away, that time deposit will belong to my husband and son. I don't think my husband was seduced by my mother-in-law into doing something wrong. A few days passed without any conclusion, and after I recovered, I started to work part-time again. My husband did not talk about the incident after that, and he was still busy with his work. Harry had also sunk into a deep depression since then, and he had come to stay with my brother-in-law and his wife, as if he did not want to see my mother-in-law or my husband. Then one day, I realized that I had left something at home on my way home from work, so I decided to go back during my break to pick it up. Unexpectedly, my mother-in-law was at home, talking on the phone with someone, and I heard her say something I never thought I would hear. "I'm going to put her to sleep tomorrow night, so come over. I won't tolerate any more mistakes like the other night." My mother-in-law, unaware that I was listening, seemed to be blabbing about her plans to someone she thought was her accomplice. This must have been the phone call Harry heard. I'm not kidding. I won't be bullied again and again. I'm going to get back at you, you'll see. I was determined to reverse the plan and catch my mother-in-law's accomplice. When my husband came home early that night, he told me that he was going on a business trip tomorrow and retreated to the bedroom. Harry also said he would be at his brother-in-law's house the next day, and I began to prepare for the execution of my plan. The next night, I was pretending asleep on the living room sofa, waiting for my mother-in-law's accomplice to arrive. I pretended to have drunk the coffee with sleeping pills that my mother-in-law had made for me, and secretly put it in a Ziploc bag and hid it under the sofa. Soon I heard the front door open and felt someone enter the living room. Their plan was to drown me in the bathtub after I fell asleep and make it look like an accident so that I would become a missing person. As my accomplice approached and reached for me, I grabbed his wrist and opened my eyes. I knew it was you. Standing there was my brother-in-law's wife, Cloris. She seemed to flinch at my unexpected counterattack, but the next moment she blurted out, "Oh my goodness, you are misunderstanding. I was just running an errand. I thought I'd wake you up, since you'll catch a cold if you sleep here." Don't be silly. I remember everything. That night, I grabbed your arm, raising the iron pipe like this, didn't I? Cloris shook off my hand with all her might and smiled wickedly at me. Oh, you remembered. You would have been happier if you had left without knowing anything. Poor thing. Hey, why? You were the first friend I had when I came here. I trusted you. Tears spilled from my eyes as my emotions ran high, but Cloris looked back at me with cold eyes. I hated you so much. Because you stole Tom from me. What? Did you like Tom by any chance? Yes, I do. I don't know how you did it. It's very brazen of an old woman with a child like you to marry a man 10 years younger than her. The reason for her crime, she told us, was completely unexpected. She was my husband's junior in high school and had had a crush on him since then. She couldn't give up after Tom married me, and now she approached my brother-in-law and married him. She was waiting for a chance to leave me someday, and then her mother-in-law, who noticed this, approached her with this plan. My mother-in-law calculated that if she made me diseased, the money would belong to Tom and would be easier to withdraw, and Cloris, thinking that she might be able to get my husband's love, decided to cooperate with her to make me disappear. Come on, that's enough of the random talk. I know it's not what I originally planned, but I'll get it over with. My mother-in-law, who came later, had a rope in her hand. Here, hang it on the doorknob, she said. You're very smart, mother-in-law. I tried my best to fend off their attacks, and we struggled fiercely. But the force of the two of them was too much for me, and finally they put the rope around my neck. Humph, that's the end of you. Now go to hell. But then, that's enough. My husband, Harry, and my brother-in-law came running into the room. What? Why are you guys here? The three of us quietly stared at my mother-in-law, whose eyes were wide open in surprise. In fact, Harry had come to our bedroom the night before and told us a startling revelation. It was Cloris who hit Mom at the park. What? Why would she do that? I was perplexed. Harry played me a recording he had made at Cloris's house of her talking with my mother-in-law. It was indeed a conversation that suggested the two of them were planning a crime. In the first place, I found a blood-stained army hand at Cloris's house the night of the incident. I hid them in the kitchen trash. I couldn't retrieve them because Cloris had been alerted. So that's why Harry has been frequenting Cloris's house lately. You've done it, Harry. An adult like me is not suited for such investigations. What, you knew? I was so surprised that my voice turned inside out. Harry said, "Sure. Grandma will hear you." I panicked and covered my own mouth with my hands. According to my husband, if I didn't question my mother-in-law after she had no way out, she would just make excuses lazily, so he pretended to be on my mother-in-law's side until he got conclusive evidence. When the mother-in-law called Harry a liar, he took her side in order to catch her off guard. After that, my husband went to Harry's room, and when they were alone, they told each other what was on their minds and planned to cooperate in catching my mother-in-law's accomplice. I've been looking into this with my dad in secret, but now that I have the evidence, I need your help, Mom. If I tell her that I'm going on a business trip, she'll act quickly. Thus, the three of us decided to cooperate in setting a trap. My husband hid upstairs in his room to see what was going on, and Harry went to my brother-in-law and his wife's house. Harry waited for Cloris to leave, and then returned to our house with his brother-in-law, whom he had told in advance about the situation. No, we were stopping Natalie from taking her own life. Yes, your sister-in-law seems to be unstable due to the shock of the blow to her head. They began to tell such lies at this stage, but my husband stared at them with a stern face and pointed at the hidden camera he had secretly planted behind the houseplant. You're the one who screwed up at the critical moment, you know that. You're useless. What? If you're going to complain so much, why don't you just do it yourself? You're too selfish to just take the good parts. It's just too much of a bug to just take the good parts. Shut up. You're always obsessing over a guy who dumped you, and it's disgusting. If you want money so badly, why don't you go work for yourself? I sighed at their shallow argument and told Harry to go to his room. Soon after, the sound of sirens approached and the police arrived. Wait a minute, why did you call the police? Don't tell me you're trying to sell out your relatives. Why not? It's beyond brazen of you to think you'll be forgiven for doing this. Tom. You are being deceived. I'm the only one who can make you happy. Too bad, I'm the one Tom loves. I will make him happy, so please don't worry. My husband and I said goodbye to them forever and turned them over to the police, both of them sobbing. Thereafter, my mother-in-law and Cloris went to jail together. I demanded $30,000 in alimony from each of them. My mother-in-law had borrowed a large sum of money from a suspicious source, and she sold her only property, her parents-in-law's house, to repay the debt, but as a result, she was left penniless. My friends who had been good friends with my mother-in-law also became disillusioned with her, and my husband and brother-in-law cut her off from their life. When Cloris's brother-in-law found out that she had been cheated, he divorced her and demanded $20,000 in alimony. Her parents paid the money on behalf, but at that time, she was cut off from her husband and brother-in-law, and she also lost her place to return to. 3 of us, on the other hand, started a new life together as a family. Harry, thank you for this time. But please don't do anything dangerous again. I can't promise that. I'll do anything to protect you. I wondered how long my son would keep saying such cute things to me. I was so happy, and I decided that my husband and I would continue to work together to protect Harry.